Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Artificial intelligence is powering a new generation of scammers. Lawmakers want to learn how Americans are cheated out of their money at a Senate hearing.
The House passing a $78 billion bill with bipartisan support to expand the child tax credit and provide tax breaks for businesses. More on what's in the bill and how Senate leaders are responding.
More funding for Ukraine. The European Union today agreeing on a $54 billion aid package. That's despite veto threats from one member country.
Tensions are rising at protests in Europe. Farmers now starting to set things on fire in front of the EU Parliament. Police respond with water hoses. We bring you an update.
Massive travel disruptions at German airports. Find out why airport security workers are going on strike and how passengers are reacting.
Taiwan elects a new parliamentary speaker from the largest opposition party. His stance on Beijing and what it means for Taiwan's future.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
President Biden joining the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington this morning.
The annual tradition began in 1953 with President Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Biden paid tribute to the U.S. troops who lost their lives in Jordan.
Our prayers continue to be with the families of the 3 American servicemen killed and attacked in the FOB in Jordan. Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Breonna Moffett, and Specialist Kennedy Sanders. I spoke with each of these families separately, and Jill and I will be tomorrow at Dover Air Force Base to receive the dignified transfer of their bodies. Not only do we pray for peace, we are actively working for peace, security, dignity for the Israeli people and the Palestinian people.
To keep American technology from aiding the Chinese military, the Pentagon just listed a dozen more Chinese tech firms it says are working with Beijing's forces.
The updated list was released yesterday. It includes a memory chip maker, an AI company, and a LiDAR technology manufacturer, among other companies. The list works more like a bad reputation label than an actual ban. Its purpose is to warn U.S. entities about the firm's ties to the Chinese military so American businesses would be more cautious about working with them.
And while it may not ban U.S. firms from working with them, the 2024 National Defense Act does ban the Pentagon from working with any Chinese companies on the list.
Many Chinese companies that self-describe as civil entities failed to declare their dual-use products. That's related to China's military-civil fusion strategy, under which civilian firms are used to help advance Beijing's military development. The U.S. is expanding efforts to counter that tactic.
And U.S. authorities charged 4 Chinese nationals for allegedly smuggling U.S.-made electronic components to Iran.
The Justice Department accused them of moving those parts through China and Hong Kong to sanctioned entities affiliated with Iran.
Some of the components could be used for making drones and ballistic missile systems.
The Chinese nationals remain at large. Taiwan's parliament has a new speaker. Han Guoyu is from the largest opposition party, the Kuomintang.
Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, accuses Han of being pro-Beijing. Han denies the allegation.
His new position makes him responsible for hosting visiting foreign lawmakers.
Despite the DPP securing a 3rd consecutive presidential term with William Lai's win, it lost its majority in the parliament. Some in Taiwan expressed concern about a potentially divisive government.
If the legislative yuan becomes a place where the Kuomintang controls the majority and holds the power of the president of the legislative yuan, doesn't that mean that our voices will be silenced again?
The legislative yuan is Taiwan's parliament. Chinese hackers are preparing to wreak havoc on U.S. infrastructure. That's according to FBI Director Christopher Wray. He told lawmakers that during a hearing on cyber threats from the Chinese regime. For analysis, we're joined live by CEO of Black Ops Partners, Casey Fleming. Casey, thank you for joining us. What could these cyber attacks actually look like?
Widespread blackouts, blackouts from electricity for many days, maybe weeks, pipeline blackouts, all that type of thing. Anything that to do with infrastructure, which supports our airlines, our hospitals, our fuel flow, our clean water, electricity, and so on. So what that equates to is mass casualties. So make no mistake, this is war.
Got it. And how would these cyber attacks be conducted on like a mechanical level?
Through coding, through software coding is exactly what would happen. And it's the equivalent in today's world, cyber warfare is the equivalent of putting bombs in pipelines and bombs on bridges and bombs in hospitals. That's exactly what you can do from thousands of miles away. So this is what war looks like today. It's also part of a larger picture called unrestricted warfare.
Now, Jen Easterly, director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, spoke about the possibility of multiple attacks like these happening at the same time. What's the likelihood of that happening?
In our opinion, that we've been doing this a long time, 100%. You have to understand that if this is the way that the CCP and the Chinese government wants to go to war, why are they doing all this malware and why is it being caught? So that's really what's going on. Anyway, it's clearly a method of warfare that's short of conventional warfare that the U.S. is clearly not aware of and not prepared for.
And what can the U.S. do to get prepared? I mean, maybe we're behind the eight ball, but
we need to ban all foreign influence in the United States. Any purchases, even sales, as far as banning products coming in from China into our manufacturing that affects our military and so on. So why would we want to support a regime that is trying to kill us? It can't be more plain than that.
Okay. And FBI Director Christopher Wray has said U.S. cybersecurity personnel are outnumbered by Chinese hackers 50-1. What effect could that imbalance have on national security?
A significant effect. Then you add artificial intelligence into that mix, and that gives you the scale of what we're facing as a country and what we're facing as a free world.
It seems like a huge imbalance, 50-1. How did it get to this point? How did this come about?
They've been building it. CCP has been building that for years. It's through their People's Liberation Army, the PLA. Their army is only in power to support and to keep the CCP in power, but they've been building up the PLA and this whole cyber weaponization against the US and the free world. And remember, this is all malware. It's not espionage this time. This is clearly to shut down our infrastructure on a wide-scale platform.
But why hasn't the U.S. kept up? I mean, this 50-1 number, with that.
Because we haven't taken it seriously. As a country, we have not taken it seriously. We have been, putting a Band-Aid on the hole in the dike, and we have not been prepping like we should have. We've been, our government has known about this for years and has not taken appropriate action, in my opinion. And our government is finally waking up to the serious level that the CCP and their PLA have been active over the past, actually 3 decades. This is 3 decades. This has been going on since 1986 and has been growing ever since.
So the prospect here seems pretty dark, but is there any hope in this situation?
There's always hope. When you wake up the sleeping giant of the United States, there's always hope. But the longer we wait to engage and the longer we continue to feed money to the Chinese communist regime, the more difficult it's going to be. But you're going to see, and what you're seeing now is a bipolar world. You've got free world and democracies against the communist state. And that's really what's aligning right now. And we've got to wake up in the way that we all act, the way we look at the news, and the way that we vote in our governments or through our governments and so on. It's serious. This is World War II all over again, but this time it's at the speed of technology and the stealth of unrestricted warfare. And unrestricted warfare is everything to destroy your enemy and weaken your enemy with all methods short of conventional warfare by following no rules.
All right, Casey Fleming, CEO of Black Ops Partners, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And in more China news, a decade-long flow of U.S. technology to sanctioned entities in Iran, allegedly through China and Hong Kong.
U.S. prosecutors unveiling an indictment against 4 Chinese nationals. More details coming tonight at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on NTD's China in Focus with Tiffany Meyer.
We all know that words have power.
They set things in motion.
And make us happy or sad.
But there's one word that stands out because when people say it, lives are changed.
It's not a big word.
It's itsy bitsy.
It's only 3 little letters.
But when you say it,
The life of a kid like me can be changed.
So, what is this special word?
It may surprise you.
it's yes.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes to becoming a monthly supporter of Shriners Hospitals for Children.
That's right. Your monthly support allows the doctors and nurses at Shriners Hospitals for Children to give the most amazing care anywhere and change the lives of kids like me.
And me.
And me.
Because people like you have said yes. Now I can play football.
And I can play catch.
And I can walk.
So what do you say? Will you say yes right now?
It's so easy.
All you have to do is pick up the phone or go to loveshriners.org right now and say yes. When you say yes to giving just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of all the kids you're helping every day. My life is filled with possibility because of the monthly support of people just like you who called the number on your screen and said yes.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Your yes is making a difference in my life and the lives of so many other kids like me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving.
Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to say yes right away.
The tempting online world is encroaching on our campus. Is unplugging cables and confiscating phones the solution to protect our children? No, we just need a clean multimedia platform. Join Ganjing Campus to leverage premium channel features, professional development courses, and kindness event toolkits tailored for teachers. Build a truly positive and interactive classroom community. Foster a pure and delightful learning environment for children.
Join us on NTD Good Morning because we want you to stay informed.
Kickstart your morning with the latest you missed overnight.
Right, and don't forget that inspiration.
Absolutely, so let's shine some light on the good news too.
Tune in every weekday morning to NTD News.
Now we begin our coverage of a Senate hearing on scams and fraud in America's banking system. The Senate Committee on Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs will examine how consumers are affected.
Artificial intelligence is powering a new generation of scammers who don't draw the line at the source of your cash withdrawals. Lawmakers want answers on how Americans are being defrauded of money and more.
Let's watch.
Banking, Housing, and Urban Affairs Committee will come to order. When consumers send money through an app or send a check in the mail, they're supposed to be able to trust that financial companies are protecting their money and will help them if something goes wrong. Yet that's not what we see. Scammers, fraudsters have ramped up their efforts to take people's money. Banks and payment apps have stood on the sidelines while the problem has only gotten worse. Pretty much everyone's either been scammed or knows someone who's been scammed when trying to use a financial service. Today, one of the most popular ways people send money is through so-called peer-to-peer apps like PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, and Zelle. These apps are now part of most Americans' day-to-day lives. 75% of adults have used at least one of them. 40% of Americans report using them at least once a month. Where consumers see convenience and accessibility, scammers see an opportunity. 2022, one major app had more than $100 million in, quote, unauthorized transactions. Another had 60 million. It's not just new technology or payment methods, of course, that scammers target. Check fraud is as old as our banking system. They'll steal a check from the mail. They'll use chemicals to wash off the key details, then fill it in with the details they want and deposit it. You might think that more people using apps would make checks less of a target, but it seems to be the opposite. Check fraud is getting worse, too. Last year, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network noticed a rise in check fraud so drastic that they issued a public alert. My colleagues and I wrote to the American Bankers Association expressing concerns on the issue. They created an information directory providing contact information for banks to resolve check fraud claims. By the end of 2022, depository institutions had reported more than 500,000 incidents of check fraud, more than double the year before, and scammers broke their record again in 2023. So the evidence is clearly shows it's getting worse. Same goes for wire transfers. Scammers target wire transfers because they can steal a larger proportion of customers' savings through wire transfers. Americans will often use wire transfers when they want to send large amounts of money, like when buying a house. Imagine a family in the process of buying a home, juggling all the details of the process, along with the excitement that they have of reaching a major life milestone. On top of everything else they have to worry about, they have to defend against scammers posing as a real estate agent or title company targeting the family's down payment. In 2023, customers lost at least $270 million to wire fraud. Now we're faced with the possibility that artificial intelligence could make these problems worse. One example, scammers can now use AI to clone a person's voice to bypass a voice authentication procedure. Banks, payment apps, other financial institutions are not doing nearly enough to prepare for the threat AI poses in increasing the scale and the impact of scams. All these problems with scams are rampant. In Dublin, Ohio, a suburb of Columbus, a retired FBI agent wrote a check for less than $200. Someone stole that check from a mailbox right in front of a post office, changed the number to $8,590 and cashed it. In another case, a 17-year-old student in Ohio received an acceptance letter from her dream college. Someone posing as another admitted student reached out and scammed her out of almost $3,000 of her own money through Zelle. That $3,000 was 3/4 of the college money she had saved by working at a discount drugstore. None of this mattered to the bank. As far as the bank was concerned, this young woman was responsible for the money and additional fees for depositing bad checks. In the end, she got her money back, but only after the efforts of a very tenacious mother who tracked down the local executive of the bank. No one should have to go through these links because banks, payment apps, and other financial institutions can get their acts together to protect their customers. When these incidents happen, people lose their hard-earned money. They're often made to feel ashamed and embarrassed. No one ever tells the victim of a holdup or break-in at their home that they were stupid or should have known better than to be robbed. But that's exactly what consumers who are scammed too often hear. Be clear, being scammed has nothing to do with savviness or intelligence or education. Just last year, a retired White House scientist was scammed out of $650,000 of her retirement savings. These scams are organized. They sent her a pop-up message on her computer. They rerouted a phone call she meant for her bank. They kept her on the phone for days on end. She still wonders about what she could have done differently, but no one should have to think about that question. To be clear, the answer to these types of stories isn't to warn people to be better prepared or put millions of consumers through a so-called financial education course. Of course, we all need better financial education, but that's not the backstop for all this. Americans don't have the time for that. They have jobs and kids and bills to worry about. It's not on them. It's on the companies that allow the scam. People should be able to have an expectation that their money is safe when they have a reputable bank. People lose their money because payment apps and banks don't put enough measures in place to protect their customers. For example, among the peer-to-peer companies, Cash App refunded just 16% of unauthorized transactions in calendar year 2022, just $1 out of $6. Zelle claims they reimburse consumers who have been victims of imposter schemes, but their website states that since the customer authorized the payment, you may not be able to get your money back. It's unclear whether Zelle will actually reimburse victims of imposter scams. They need to clarify instead their reimbursement policy. These companies need to step up. They apparently need rules to make them do it, not more financial education. These banks, payment apps, and other financial services companies have shown us they need, shall we say, some encouragement. CFPB has a proposed rule that is one strong first step. It would help ensure that companies like Venmo and Cash App and Zelle follow federal consumer protection laws. It's what CFPB does, protect consumers and their hard-earned money. When the CFPB is empowered, it ensures that the financial system works for consumers, not just big companies. With millions of users, it only makes sense that these companies do more to protect consumers' money. Because as we've seen in other hearings in the last 3 years, frauds and scams are not unique in consumer finance. They're also common within cryptocurrency. We'll keep pushing to make our financial system safer, whether it's stopping random fraud and rampant fraud and scams in cryptocurrency or in apps and check fraud. I hope we can discuss more today about how banks and payment apps and other financial service companies can step up for their consumers and actually earn their trust back. Senator Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start off by saying I guess Steven Spielberg was on to something when he named the movie Catch You If You Can. Recently, I saw a movie called The Beekeeper, which starts off about financial scams that led to the grandmother's suicide. Now, financial scams may not today lead to suicides, but without any question, it certainly kills your hopes, your dreams, and your sense of financial security. The impact of financial scams, especially on our senior citizens, is undeniable. Having been the ranking member on the Aging Committee, we've had many, many hearings about the devastation of retirement savings lost, lives changed, grandmothers looking for a place to call home, moving back in with their kids or their grandkids. The devastation is so real and so often goes unreported in some instances, and certainly the investigations leave many wanting. Even in a largely digital age, more traditional forms of fraud continue to flourish. Think about the fact that whether it's check fraud, wire fraud, mail fraud, we've seen a resurgence of criminal activity in these spaces, in addition to, of course, the new types of fraud that comes along with the technological advancements that we've seen around our country and certainly the innovations around the world. Not only do I think of my own mother, who celebrates a birthday this weekend as a senior citizen, I think about every single South Carolinian who trusts that their money is safe when they write a check and place it in the mail or transfer money to their grandkids. Mr. Benda, I thank you for bringing your expertise and talking about the different kinds of fraud that can impact American consumers. Protecting consumers and preventing fraud are critical pillars of our financial system and, frankly, what our society deserves. For many families, becoming a victim to these scams is equivalent to wiping out a lifetime of savings. And not just the dollars in the account, but the thought that you are no longer safe to transact business anywhere, in any form. For many, it's the worry that their identity is compromised, that their credit score is impacted, and that they struggle to realize just how will they survive and afford, whether it's their rent, a mortgage, or even simply groceries, which in today's inflationary economy is even harder than it was before. Speaking of dollars, let's just count the cost. $9 billion in 2022 is the cost of financial fraud. A staggering number. Unfortunately, these criminal acts of fraud and theft are not new, and criminals like these continue to prey on the vulnerable. This is precisely why our financial institutions and financial industry participants should and do spend billions of dollars developing and implementing innovative technologies to strengthen security that will protect families and businesses from fraud. But on the other side of the coin, we haven't seen the same commitment from our federal regulators. Recently, our regulators seem to be more focused on political grandstanding than promoting innovative solutions, protecting consumers, and increasing efforts that support financial education. And instead of focusing on real crimes and holding criminals responsible, this administration seems intent on tying up financial institutions with ever-increasing amounts of Washington red tape. Recently, the CFPB has continued its deceptively named junk fee campaign targeting legitimate, contractually agreed upon payment incentives. In its latest proposals, the CFPB uses legal gymnastics to turn penalty fees into loans while slapping the label abusive on any practice it just doesn't like. The CFPB is sending a clear message. It is willing to stretch the law beyond its limits to suit Director Chopra's political agenda. And every dollar spent navigating Washington red tape is a dollar less on initiatives that actually help families and protect businesses. It's a dollar less for bolstering a firm's cyber defenses in the investment world that may prevent or even catch fraud before it happens. Unfounded bureaucratic regulations take resources away from financial innovation and education, both of which can help lift up the underserved and minority communities. What concerns me even more than all of this is recent allegations that suggest the federal law enforcement and financial regulators may be expending their resources to target Americans for their political and religious beliefs. Instead of targeting Americans for purchasing Bibles or shopping at the Bass Pro Shops, our government should focus on doing its job, protecting our families and prosecuting actual criminals, including those behind financial scams. Unfortunately, these examples are part of a larger trend we have seen from this administration of putting politics first. For example, banking regulators were so focused on climate change that they failed to identify the key risk factors leading to the second, third, and fourth largest bank failures in our nation's history last spring. And again, the CFPB wasn't so focused on building a public pressure campaign against so-called junk fees, maybe it could do its job and actually protect consumers from the real harm that comes from being a victim of financial crime. One of the best tools any of us have to fight back against financial crimes is to become better educated, both about the financial products and protections that are available to us and about scams and methods criminals are using against us. In fact, I have long championed the idea that financial education or financial literacy is one of the most important and most critical tools for climbing the ladder of success in America. It's why I've worked so hard to incorporate financial literacy in my work on this committee.
And joining us now is NTD Business host Don Ma to discuss the Federal Reserve's rate decision.
For the fourth time in a row, the Federal Reserve left interest rates unchanged Wednesday. Don, give us the highlights of this meeting.
All right, so the Fed yesterday repeated again that interest rates likely are at their peak. And I think the biggest takeaway from the meeting yesterday was that Jerome Powell said that rate cuts are not probably coming in March. And this is significant because there were actually a lot of hopes out there that rate cuts would in fact happen in a couple of months. But Powell yesterday said that they don't think it would be in time to cut rates until it has gained greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably downward. And Powell said that it's unlikely that the committee will reach a level of confidence in terms of inflation moving down by the time of the next meeting, which is in March, to start cutting rates. Though Powell did suggest that it was only a matter of time, even if it's not coming this March, only a matter of time before the confidence kick in. But nevertheless, after the meeting, many traders gave up on bets of interest rate cuts in March, and instead they're now betting on May for those cuts.
So what was the market's reaction to what Powell said?
Right, so stocks tumbled yesterday after the Fed did not indicate any indication of clear rate cuts coming in March. The Dow, S&P 500, NASDAQ all closed lower. And markets, it seems like, are seeing a knee-jerk reaction in terms of what the Fed said. A little bit disappointed, actually, that there's no clear guidance on when rate decreases are coming. Traders are seeing that the Fed could have its year-end range at around 4%. Right now, it's at 5%. So in order for us to reach the around 4% range, the Fed has to cut rates by 25 basis points in each meeting starting in May. So we'll see if that happens. Investors should continue to expect higher for longer for some time, because the economy, in terms of the data we're seeing, doesn't give the Fed enough confidence just yet. But the good news is probably markets don't need to worry about any more tightening.
All right, NTD Business host Don Ma, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up, students ditching class to make social media videos. Find out how the school tackles this unique problem and hear from the so-called TikTok shrink. We'll have the details soon when we return.
First time I came in here was Monday, and today is Thursday. I've had two.
Ultimate cleaner. We drink it. We bathe in it. Think water. Think steam. Think clean. Now harness the power of water with the H2O X5 5-in-1 steam cleaning system.
I'm so impressed with the X5. It's an all-in-one product. I can use it throughout my entire house.
It's cleaning, it's sanitizing, there's no chemicals in it. It's just steam.
This is unbelievable. There is no more odor. You could spend over $500 to purchase the products at the X5 5-in-1 Miracle Replace prices. Order your H2O X5 steam cleaning system, a $500 value, for just 4 easy payments of $43. Order now and we'll upgrade your X5 package. We'll add a 6th mode with a dusting and polishing wand. Valued at over $30, this extra bonus attachment makes your H2O X5 the H2O X6. That means your 10-piece system becomes a 12-piece system at no extra cost to you. All for just 3 easy payments of $43. Call or click right now.
I'm Don Ma in New York City, and we are NTD News.
Sharp words, retorts, and even an apology. Senators at yesterday's hearing urging social media executives to address the issue of children's sexual exploitation online. To speak with us about this issue, we're joined by Melanie Hempe, the founder of Screen Strong, an organization that strives to empower families to prevent and remedy problematic screen use in children. Melanie, welcome. There were families at yesterday's hearing giving testimony, and you yourself have seen some of the gnarly effects on young people up close. Describe for us the kinds of harms that we're looking at.
Yes, we have interviewed many of those families on our podcast, and my heart goes out to them. It is so sad. And the harms are everything you heard yesterday is absolutely true. But I think one of the biggest harms is the detachment that our kids are facing. They're becoming detached from their families. I think ultimately that is the biggest harm. And then, of course, you've got the mental health, the anxiety, the depression. They get very confused about their identity when they're online because the volume of voices out there is just too great for most of us to process, much less a teenager. And then they have very stunted social skills. When a teenager's online and their social activity moves to the online platform, they don't practice being social in person, and their social skills get stunted. And as you know, that affects everything else in their life, from their school to their job, even to just the way they feel about themselves and their self-esteem. They are losing their potential over the other activities that they could be doing instead of being on their video games and their phones all the time. And I really believe, yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely. This sounds really, it's painting a really terrible picture in a way that a lot of people have seen or experienced. And of course, parents are getting worried about this, and they're also often say that they don't feel that they have any power over it, that they have no way to really affect change here. But you work directly with families on this. What kinds of actions can they take to effectively make change here?
Well, we may not have power over the algorithms and the screen, but we absolutely have choices for our kids. And the changes we have to make is that we have to start protecting them, and we can't wait for big tech to do this. I'm not saying that big tech shouldn't try to do this, but today, tonight, tomorrow, we have to protect our kids. And what that means, first, we get educated, and that's what Screen Strong is all about. We are educating parents and we're educating kids on the science around the dangers, and then equipping them with what to do. The next thing you have to do is remove those myths that you have in your head, the blind spots and the fear of missing out, the fact that we're going to try to moderate it. We just need to throw screens. We don't need to throw all our screens out. We need to throw the phones out just for a period of time. We need to say no for a period of time, not forever. And then we need to join our community. And that's, again, at Screen Strong, we provide that community for parents. So it's education plus community plus being bold and standing up and just saying no to certain types of screen activities during the most sensitive parts of development in the teenage years. We have to be bold.
And what kinds of actions can teenagers take if they're really wanting to navigate this online world wisely?
Well, it's never too late to do the right thing, right? So we have to not regret all the things that we've done online, and honestly, get a basic phone. We know from every study out there on habits and addiction that the more access you have, the more exposed you're going to be to things. So for a period of time, take a break. And, your parents can help you do this, but teenagers need to start standing up for themselves a little bit too on this. And they need to start having more of their life moved from the virtual world back to the real world. And everybody will be happier. It will be so much better for them. So they don't have to be a victim. They can have a choice.
Melanie,
we all have choices.
And you have worked with many families on this, as you've said. So what kinds of success stories have you encountered or helped along the way?
We have so many success stories of teenagers that actually go through our little detox that we have, and they constantly write us. Parents are constantly getting into our parent forums to say, this is the best thing we ever did. We have no idea. Like, it's really hard for a minute at first. And then they start discovering all their hobbies and their interests and all their time with people. They start learning how to fish. And they're like, hey, you know what? We can't fish on a phone. It's so much better in person. We have so many stories. And we have a brand new student course that we have coming out that is full of stories of teenagers as well. And that's going to be fabulous. It's going to be out in the next month. So
great.
Really
Thank you so much. Great to hear all about this and avenues that parents and families can look into. Thank you so much. Melanie Hempy, founder of Screen Strong.
Yeah.
Leaving class to use the bathroom, or perhaps just to clear your head. That's something a lot of students have done over the years. But a middle school in North Carolina says it got so bad, kids were leaving class 9 times a day to make videos for social media in the bathroom mirrors. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the school's unique solution and the take of Dr. Chris Kortman, known as the TikTok shrink.
Feeling overwhelmed by the extreme bathroom overusage, one North Carolina middle school decided to fight back by removing the bathroom mirrors. School Public Information Officer Les Atkins spoke with local TV station WFMY.
Students were going to the bathroom for long periods of time and making TikTok videos.
The school says there has been a big drop in bathroom breaks since they removed the mirrors. And they now use a digital hall pass system, which helps keep better track of where students are throughout the day. The school says it chose this solution rather than take kids' phones away because some parents wanted their kids to have phone access for safety reasons. Dr. Chris Kortman says a big danger from apps like TikTok is that they severely damage attention span, which causes users to want instant gratification without putting any work in.
In fact, we have plenty of research on the importance of self-discipline and how self-esteem is not what we should be teaching kids. We should be teaching them self-discipline because that's how they get to self-esteem, is by learning how to discipline. And that means they have to delay gratification. They have to work hard towards something. You got to show it up at the gym like every day for years before you go, hey, check this out. You know, the things that they want in life are going to come because they have the capacity to continue to invest in their goals, to day by day do the right thing.
Kortman says he has no issue with how the school solved the problem, and he likened parenting to spotting someone in the weight room.
The job of the spotter is to give you exactly as much help as you need. Not more help and not less help.
The TikTok shrink also thinks kids will lead more satisfying lives if they can get away from the shallow focus of being beautiful on social media.
There's so many other things that are important in life besides being sexually attractive. You know, and they're neglecting a lot of those things that really matter in the long term. I'm not saying that there's no point or no purpose for being attractive, but if that's the focus, if that's the only thing that matters, if you build your world around that, you're not a well-balanced person. And the irony of it is you'll have people attracted to you until they get to know you and see how incredibly shallow and that your world is built around your looks.
TikTok is banned for federal and state employees in about 2/3 of U.S. states. And a law in Florida from last year stopped TikTok from being used on school devices and Wi-Fi networks. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Up next, more funding for Ukraine. The European Union today agreeing on a $54 billion aid package. We bring you which member country almost stopped the bill.
And farmer protests sweeping Europe. Demonstrators now starting to set things on fire in front of the EU Parliament. Police respond with high-pressure water hoses. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years wonders of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Yun.
To a child, this is what conflict looks like. Children in Ukraine are caught in the crossfire of war, forced to flee their homes.
A steady stream of refugees has been coming across all day. It's bitterly cold.
Lacking clean water and sanitation, exposed to injury, hunger.
Exhausted and shell-shocked from what they've been through.
Every dollar you give can help bring a meal, a blanket, or simply hope to a child living in conflict. Please call or go online to GiveNowToSave.org today with your gift of $10 a month. That's just 33 cents a day. We cannot forget the children in places like Syria, born in refugee camps, playing in refugee camps, thinking of the camps as home. Please call or go online to GiveNowToSave.org today with your gift of $10 a month. Your gift can help children like Ara in Afghanistan, where nearly 20 years of conflict have forced the people into extreme poverty. Weakened and unable to hold herself up, Ara was brought to a Save the Children center where she was diagnosed and treated for severe malnutrition. Every dollar helps. Please call or go online to GiveNowToSave.org today with your gift of $10 a month, just 33 cents a day. And thanks to special government grants that are available now, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. And when you use your credit card, you'll receive this special Save the Children tote bag to show you won't forget the children who are living their lives in conflict. Every war is a war against children. Please, give now.
Parents, it's here. A world with amazing adventures and Christian messaging your kids will love. Introducing TruePlay, multiple games in one app. A safe and trusted platform. Go to trueplaygames.com today to learn more.
I'm in the bedroom.
Okay.
Oh, shit. It's not here.
What?
The gun's not here.
What do you mean? Where is it?
Cameron, are you in there? Open the door. Cam! Come on, Cam.
I'm going to bring you the most accurate and insightful information on NTD Newsroom. Join me weekdays right here on NTD News.
Welcome back. The European Union today reading a deal on more support for Ukraine. The leaders of the 27 member countries agreed on an aid package worth over $50 billion. This comes despite threats from Hungary to veto the bill.
This is good news. Ukraine is our priority, and that is why we needed this agreement today by all 27 member states and from within the EU budget.
That Hungary lifted its veto came as a surprise. Relations between the two countries have even been tense. Hungary has long criticized Ukraine for allegedly curbing the rights of ethnic Hungarians.
The financial package was part of a review of the EU's continuing 7-year budget, which requires unanimous approval. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today thanked the EU for the funding. He says this is a clear signal that Ukraine and Europe will withstand Russia's invasion.
And while European lawmakers pass bills inside the parliament in Brussels, farmers are protesting outside. Tensions are rising today as both protesters and police are starting to use more aggressive tactics. Angry farmers set tires, cardboard boxes, and hay on fire in front of the European Parliament in Brussels today. They also tried to tear down barriers in front of the building. Police started pushing them back using water hoses.
Thousands of farmers and tractors from across Europe are in the Belgian capital. They're protesting environmental standards and other regulations imposed by the EU. They say they're being undercut by foreign imports, which do not have to follow the same rules.
Farmers from as far away as Italy and Spain are joining the protests in Brussels.
We'd like to safeguard our tradition, our
farmers' moods, our quality of food, but to safeguard the majority part of this kind of situation, the dignified incomes.
Thousands of miles away, Greek farmers are also protesting. They drove their tractors into the heart of the country's second largest city.
Farmers there started parking their tractors on highways last week. They're threatening to block the country's main roads and cut off the transportation of goods.
They too demand better living conditions. This comes after months of farmers' protests across Europe. The movement first started in the Netherlands in 2019 and gained international attention.
A French goat farmer is urging consumers to buy local as he joins protests that are blocking highways near Paris. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on his story.
In Tancreux, a small town between Paris and Reims, Bertrand Moret takes care of his 200 goats. He took back the family farm in 2016 with his cousins, but like many other farmers, he struggles to make ends meet.
The root of the issue is to be able to make a decent living from your profession and therefore being able to sell your products at the right price, which pays the producers and which allows them to live. When there is no longer this economic threat hanging above all the farmers, we can accept the norms more easily.
The EU's 2023 Nature Restoration Law requires countries to introduce environmental measures on a fifth of their land and sea by 2030. French farmers say they are facing unfair competition from abroad and that this could hurt their businesses. The government in Paris pledged to lobby on their behalf in Brussels. Farmers are also protesting in other cities across the EU, such as in Spain, Italy, and Greece, as EU leaders hold a summit on Thursday. Moret said he was not expecting much from political leaders, but that he hopes for a reaction from customers, where he says the real power is. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And it's not only adults protesting in France. A group of children rode toy tractors in Strasbourg yesterday in solidarity with the farmers. Farmers in protest throughout France and Europe want environmental rules eased and protection against rising costs and cheap imports.
Children drove both electric and pedal-powered mini tractors while adults escorted the caravan.
They carried signs that read, "Tomorrow I will feed you."
Farmers say they are not paid enough, are choked by taxes and green rules, and face unfair competition from abroad.
And in Germany, massive disruptions to travel today. Security workers at major airports are going on strike, causing widespread flight cancellations and delays. A union called on workers to strike at 11 airports, including Frankfurt, Berlin, Cologne, Hamburg, Stuttgart, and Dresden.
The Frankfurt airport is the busiest in Germany. The country's second busiest airport, Munich, was not affected.
An airport operator group estimated that about 1,100 flights in total would be canceled or delayed. This impacts some 200,000 passengers.
Lufthansa planned to operate much of its planned schedule, including intercontinental flights. The airport workers were trying to step up pressure in a pay dispute.
Every person standing here at the airport today, many of them are employees, and they know how important it is that there are regular pay raises, because otherwise life is just no longer affordable. And that's what it's all about. And that's why I think there's understanding. We got the news yesterday in Singapore that our connecting flight with Lufthansa has been cancelled, which would have gone from Frankfurt to Nuremberg. The Lufthansa chatbot didn't help, so we quickly booked pretty much the last 2 train seats for this morning.
There should be another solution. It can't go on like this. It can't.
3 rounds of labor negotiations have failed to produce a pay agreement. The union is seeking a raise of $3 per hour for all employees. That's 25,000 workers.
They also want bonuses for overtime work to kick in from the first extra hour. The talks are due to resume on February 6th.
Short warning strikes are a common tactic in German contract negotiations. In a separate dispute, the same union has called for strikes Friday on local public transportation systems in much of the country.
In the UK, post-Brexit, checks on food, plant, and animal imports from the EU came into effect Wednesday. Cut flowers imported will now require more documentation to be allowed into the UK. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the latest.
At New Covent Garden Market in London, florists are gearing up for Valentine's Day. But now flowers require a health certificate to get through customs and enter the UK. Vendors are concerned.
Valentine's Day is crazy. It is one of the biggest days of the floristry calendar, and it's worldwide. So flowers are shipped through Holland everywhere. Our borders are now causing us an issue with that.
The checks also apply to food imports such as cheese, dairy, and eggs. Chilled and frozen meat as well as fish are also subject to inspection. The new rules had already been delayed 5 times, but the British government admits they'll cost businesses more than $400 million a year.
I know this is absolute anathema to the current government, that we should sit down with the European Union, negotiate a comprehensive veterinary agreement based on alignment. That would wipe away this problem overnight, remove all the cost.
The border inspections are in place to prevent insects and diseases from entering the UK. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
If you have any news tips or feedback for our show, please feel free to email us at news.today@ntd.com.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I had heard many times that heart disease is the #1 killer. It went in one ear and out the other, frankly. I never had a health issue. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. By the time I got to the ER, the doctor decided to give me a CAT scan. He said, "I don't think you understand. You are on the verge of a heart attack." I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I received 2 stents in my arteries, stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. With you by our side, together we'll keep fighting this battle. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. Put yourself on your to-do list. It could be the most important thing you ever do. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
All right, I'm at the house, and I'm gonna head inside. Okay, come on, this door. I'm in the house.
What do you see?
Let me check the den. There's nothing in the den. Let me check the kitchen. There's no one downstairs, it looks like.
Wait, what was that?
I don't know. Let me head upstairs.
What do you see?
What the? Did you shut this bathroom door?
No.
Oh,
What?
It's not here.
What do you mean?
The gun's not here.
What? Where is it?
Oh my God.
What's going on?
Cam.
Oh my God, what's going
Cameron, are you in there? Open the door. Cam, please, please, open the door, Cameron. Come on, Cam.
I'm Iris Tao at the White House, and we are NTD.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
The latest filings with the Federal Election Commission. We take a look at the leading candidates' campaign finances. How much have they raised and how much are they spending? Especially former President Trump, who's facing mounting legal fees.
And Trump now, for the first time, commenting on plans for a Japanese firm to buy the U.S. Steel Corporation. How the former president says he would handle the deal.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin apologizing for not properly handling his cancer diagnosis. What he says in the first news conference since his secret hospital stay.
The Supreme Court gearing up for a showdown addressing allegations of government censorship. Crucial oral arguments are set for March. Find out the details.
California hit by one storm and bracing for another. One community is coming together to prepare for torrential rains and possible flooding.
And more funding for Ukraine. The European Union today agreeing on a $54 billion aid package. That's despite initial objections from one member state.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
President Biden joining the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington this morning.
The annual tradition began in 1953 with President Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Biden paid tribute to the U.S. troops who lost their lives in Jordan.
Our prayers continue to be with the families of the 3 American servicemen killed and attacked in the FOB in Jordan. Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Breonna Moffett, and Specialist Kennedy Sanders. I spoke with each of these families separately, and Jill and I will be tomorrow at Dover Air Force Base to receive the dignified transfer of their bodies. Not only do we pray for peace, we are actively working for peace, security, dignity for the Israeli people and the Palestinian people.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin publicly apologizing today for not being more transparent about his health with his colleagues and the public. He says he takes full responsibility and regrets not informing the president about his cancer diagnosis. The apology comes after Austin was released from the hospital early January. He was widely criticized for the lack of transparency.
But I want to be crystal clear. We did not handle this right, and I did not handle this right. I should have told the president about my cancer diagnosis. I should have also told my team and the American public. And I take full responsibility. I apologize to my teammates and to the American people. I also missed an opportunity to send a message on an important public health issue, and I'd like to fix that right now. I was diagnosed with a highly treatable form of cancer, a pretty common one. 1 in 8 American men will get prostate cancer. 1 in 6 black men will get it. And so I'm here with a clear message to other men, especially older men. Get screened, get your regular checkups. Prostate cancer has a glass jaw.
Running for president costs a lot of money. Let's take a look at the campaign finances of 3 major presidential candidates, starting with former President Trump.
Trump's political action committees spent around $29 million on lawyers and legal fees in the second half of 2023. That's according to newly released FEC filings.
Although the legal cases are costly, they also helped Trump make money. When the former president was booked in Georgia, his now famous mugshot was released. The following day, Trump raised a record amount of money. Trump also used the situation to his favor by selling mugshot merchandise.
The new filings showed Trump's campaign raised about $19 million during the last 3 months of 2023, compared to $33 million reported by Biden's campaign.
Over to former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. She's trailing behind Trump in the polls, even in her home state.
The good news is that she started this election year with $14 million on hand. Federal Election Commission records show that Haley raised over $17 million in the last quarter of 2023.
This could give her some much-needed help in trying to catch up to Trump, and this number doesn't include another $13 million raised by one of her allied fundraising committees over the past 6 months.
And turning now to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the independent candidate spent more than he received during the last quarter of 2023.
Kennedy raised $7 million in those months, which is more than Florida Governor Ron DeSantis raised during that period while he was still running.
But Kennedy also spent nearly $8 million in that time, which means his campaign now has less cash on hand. A mega donor backing Trump has also given major donations to independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Some polls show Kennedy siphoning votes from President Biden in a general matchup against former President Trump. Mellon banking fortune heir Timothy Mellon gave $10 million to a pro-Kennedy super PAC in the second half of 2023. That's according to disclosures to the Federal Election Commission. He previously gave the group $5 million in April last year.
Mellon's donations to a pro-Trump group followed a similar pattern. Mellon gave a $5 million donation to MAGA Inc. in April 2023 and gave another $10 million in the second half of that year. Political analysts say Kennedy's bid could take votes away from Biden and Trump in critical states.
A December Reuters Ipsos poll showed that Kennedy could draw more support from Biden than from Trump.
To help us unpack the latest on former President Trump's legal battles, we have lead counsel at the National Legal and Policy Center, Paul Kamenar. Paul, thank you for your time today. New federal election filings show former President Donald Trump's affiliated committees spent nearly $30 million on legal fees in the second half of last year. The total for that year was around $50 million. What do these numbers say about his legal troubles?
Well, it says a lot. I mean, you've got 4 criminal cases, you've got 2 or 3 civil cases that all require attorneys doing a lot of work on this. I mean, the $50 million seems to be high, but when you break it down, the amounts are not as much as you would think it would be. So his legal troubles are apart from the fees that he's having to pay. But I think the attorneys that are in the cases are doing an excellent job and are earning their fees properly.
Now, Paul, Trump is appealing the E. Jean Carroll defamation case against him, the verdict there. What chance of success does he have at winning that appeal?
Well, there's 2 parts to that case. There's the liability aspect that we're going back to whether he sexually assaulted her, but the defamation one is the one that she recently received $86 million, both punitive damages and compensatory damages. I think he may have a hard time appealing that in terms of the liability on the defamation aspect, but he's got some good grounds. There was some evidence that was not allowed to be introduced, but in terms of the amounts, I think he also has a very good argument in terms of the punitive damages that were put on, that they were basically excessive. There was evidence showing that she wasn't damaged economically as she said she was. In fact, she tried to make herself famous because of the defamation cases. So that one is problematic. So I think the chances of being reversed are kind of slim in terms of the liability, but in terms of the amount of damages, I think he has a good chance.
Okay, now let's look at Georgia. Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis and Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade have been subpoenaed to testify on February 15th. That's in the lawsuit to disqualify them from this Georgia election interference case. What could come of this?
Yeah, actually, there are 2 legal actions going on in that regard. This is the one that on February 15th, the argument will be heard on the criminal case where one of the defendants that are in the case with Donald Trump filed a suit to disqualify Fani Willis and her lover, Nathan Wade, who's the special prosecutor she appointed, and to dismiss the whole case. But at the same time, that attorney also filed an Open Records Act request to get bank statements, receipts, travel vouchers, etc. And they haven't fully complied with that. So she subpoenaed them to testify as well. So there's going to be this hearing in the Georgia criminal case, but it'll be kind of a double hearing in the sense that it will be whether or not she should be disqualified or the case thrown out because of the conflict of interest, as well as whether they complied with her request for records under the Georgia Freedom of Information Act. So that should be an interesting case. And I think whether she is disqualified or not, the case is damaged already because it's clear that there was a hanky-panky going on between her and the chief prosecutor using the funds that she paid him out of Georgia taxpayers to prosecute this case. He's got almost $1 million in fees for this case from the Georgia taxpayers.
And lastly, Paul, how do you view Trump's overall legal situation at the beginning of this election here, just briefly?
Well, like I said, there have four criminal cases. There's a couple, the New York case on trying to impose $370 million on the issue of whether he defrauded the banks in getting loans, which is a nonsense case. I think these cases all should be dismissed, but at the same time, they're distracting him from campaigning. I'm surprised how he's being able to hold up with all these things coming at him, but it's interfering with the election. He's got to be in court for some of these cases, and he's not being able to campaign. But at the same time, it's kind of backfiring on the Democrats here, because the more they go after him in the courts, the more his supporters rally around him because he's being unfairly prosecuted.
Yep. All right, Paul Kamenar, lead counsel at the National Legal and Policy Center. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And former President Trump now for the first time commenting on plans for a Japanese firm to buy U.S. steel.
Trump says if he wins the election, he would block the deal immediately.
We saved the steel industry. Now U.S. steel is being bought by Japan. It's so terrible. But yeah, we want to bring jobs back to the country, and sometimes tariffs can do that.
In 2018, then President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on imported steel.
In December, Japanese firm Nippon Steel agreed to buy U.S. steel for around $14 billion. U.S. steel shareholders are set to vote on the proposed deal in March, but the plan must also receive U.S. regulatory approval.
The potential sale will be reviewed by a government committee, which can block the deal or give it approval. It can also amend the deal or send it to the president's desk for a decision.
The Biden administration has expressed caution about the sale, saying it deserves serious scrutiny.
Coming up, escalating attacks from Houthi terrorists in the Red Sea. Find out more about the U.S. response and what President Biden plans to do next.
And the initial report is almost ready on the Alaska Airlines door plug blowout incident that involved the Boeing 737 MAX 9 plane. We have the latest in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
You know, these kids grow so fast. Cherish every little moment you get with them. Tyler, he's 10, and little Daryl, he's 12. Being a single dad, it is hard, really hard. I've been there since day one. I know how it is, you know, not to have nothing. I don't really get paid much. There's been times I went hungry, made sure they ate. There ain't a thing I wouldn't do for them.
Millions of our neighbors are facing hunger. Rising food prices are making it tougher to put food on the table. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for families across America.
At least now I know I gotta, help if I need it.
1 in 5 children face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. We are getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of people facing hunger, from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you use your credit card, you'll receive this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you're a part of a movement working together to ensure that everyone has the food and resources we all need to thrive.
If you're hungry, if they got it, they'll feed you. People just gotta realize, places like this do exist that will help you.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org. Working together, we can end hunger in America.
The tempting online world is encroaching on our campus. Is unplugging cables and confiscating phones the solution to protect our children? No, we just need a clean multimedia platform. Join Ganjing Campus to leverage premium channel features, professional development courses, and kindness event toolkits tailored for teachers. Build a truly positive and interactive classroom community. Foster a pure and delightful learning environment for children.
Can't believe you're doing this alone. I've done it before. I remember you threw your back out. How you holding up? Hand me that board. Nothing wrong with getting help. I'm good. I did it when Felicia left. I'll figure it out. I know you will, but you don't have to do it alone. That's all I'm saying. If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence? Now you need the help. It can be a real pain sometimes, you know that? Mm-hmm.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Hi, I'm Kelly Wright. We thank you for joining us and watching America's Hope here on NTD News. Bottom line is, I know you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but let's give you some good news in the midst of the bad news. Watch us nightly, right here on NTD News, for a full dose of America's Hope.
3 people were killed and 9 others were injured last night in a building collapse near Boise Airport in Idaho. City officials say the cause of the collapse is still unknown. Officials say a privately owned hangar that was under construction collapsed on airport property. It happened around 5 p.m. local time.
A Boise Fire Department official called the incident catastrophic. He said first responders found a hectic scene and worked to rescue the victims. Of the 9 survivors, 5 are reported to be in critical condition and are receiving care at hospitals. The names of the 3 people killed have not yet been released.
Authorities say OSHA representatives are on the scene investigating the possible cause and that there was no impact on Boise Airport operations. California residents are bracing for stormy weather this week. The National Weather Service has issued flood warnings in some low-lying areas and winter storm warnings for some high-altitude areas.
Communities are coming together to prepare for the torrential rainfall headed their way.
California is facing back-to-back storms known as atmospheric rivers this week. The storm arriving today is expected to bring 1 to 3 inches of rain, especially in Southern California. Flood warnings are in effect. Residents of San Diego are preparing for the worst. They were just swamped by flooding last week. Locals are coming together to lend a hand with flood preparations.
You know, I've been out here since 5 o'clock this morning filling bags, and the residents in this neighborhood, they enthusiastic about the help. They've all come down. As you guys can see now, there's people from the community here all helping out, pitching hands.
Later this week, a second storm is on track to hit the state.
The next storm might even be a little bit more powerful than this first storm. But the big issue with the next storm is the length of time that we're going to be under the moderate to heavy rain. And so that's going to add up very quickly and over a long period of time. So that could produce, again, not only urban flooding, but we're talking small rivers and streams.
The National Weather Service issued a winter storm warning for mountain areas in the Sierra Nevada. They could see up to 18 inches of snow. A silver lining, this week's storms are expected to improve water levels across the state.
The Supreme Court has scheduled a case alleging government involvement in censorship. The case involves multiple states and medical professionals suing the Biden administration for allegedly coercing social media companies to suppress certain content about COVID-19. Oral arguments in Murphy v. Missouri will be held in March. Missouri brought the suit along with Louisiana, social media users, and the founder of Gateway Pundit.
The defendants include dozens of Biden administration officials, including White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre.
The planned March oral argument comes after some justices decided to stay a lower court decision. That ruling halted the government from coercing or meaningfully controlling social media platforms' content moderation efforts.
It involves communications between White House officials, various executive entities like the CDC and FBI, and social media companies. Big Pharma and the government will begin to haggle over the prices of some of the costliest drugs for millions of older adults. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Service will present an opening offer to drug makers today on each of the prices of 10 medications. They include drugs used to treat heart disease, certain cancers, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and other conditions. Mandated by the Inflation Reduction Act, it marks the first time that Medicare has been able to negotiate with drug manufacturers over prices. The negotiations are set to last through August 1st. Final prices are set to be announced September 1st, but they won't go into effect until 2026. Pharmaceutical companies are pushing back, calling the negotiations unconstitutional. The Biden administration is facing several lawsuits over the program.
And the Federal Communications Commission wants to make robocalls generated by artificial intelligence illegal. The FCC said in a news release yesterday there's been a rise in these types of calls during the last few years. So the agency has proposed the Telephone Consumer Protection Act include voice cloning technology used in common robocall scams. The FCC's announcement comes after a robocall with an AI voice resembling President Biden targeted thousands of New Hampshire voters. The FCC said in the release that AI technology now has the potential to confuse consumers with misinformation by imitating voices of celebrities, political candidates, and family members.
The head of the National Transportation Safety Board says investigators are almost done with a preliminary report on the door plug blowout on a Boeing 737 MAX 9. This is a video of the January 5th incident on Alaska Airlines Flight 1282. NTSB officials say investigators are in the final stages of the report, but that it's a complicated issue. Officials stopped short of identifying what findings would be included in the report, but signaled it could include observations from disassembling the door plug in the NTSB's Washington, D.C. lab. As the NTSB continues its probe, airlines are once again flying Boeing 737 MAX 9s after the Federal Aviation Administration issued a safety update directive last week. Alaska Airlines says inspections on all 65 of its MAX 9s will be completed by the end of this week.
And some teachers in Oklahoma are being asked to return their bonuses after state officials said they were paid out in error. Oklahoma's State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Ryan Walters, says 4 teachers have been told they will need to return up to $50,000 to the state. He does add that they're working to find a compromise. The bonuses were paid under a new incentive program that helped recruit over 500 teachers to Oklahoma classrooms. But Walters told lawmakers that the requests to return the money were the result of an audit that found that some teachers did not meet the requirements for the bonuses. The money came from a federal grant. At least 2 teachers are now part of a lawsuit accusing the Oklahoma State Department of Education of breaching their contract.
And Disney is set to begin banning password sharing on its streaming services. It's a move that follows in the footsteps of one of its top competitors, Netflix. In an email to Hulu subscribers yesterday, the company said it would start limiting sharing accounts outside of your household starting March 14th. Hulu's user agreement, along with those for Disney Plus and ESPN Plus, explicitly prevent users from impersonating someone else by using their username or password. All 3 user agreements were last updated on January 25th.
Coming up, over 15,000 animals trapped on a ship in Australia. Will they be allowed to disembark or face a return to the open sea?
And in Fulton County, Georgia, a Trump co-defendant is suing the country. He says the country's district attorney, Fani Willis, is withholding information. NTD's legal correspondent, Arlene Richards, joins us in the studio to discuss when we come back.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shen Yun.
Car breakdown is no joke.
With parts, labor, and towing, you could be looking at thousands of dollars in bills, darlings. That ain't funny.
If your vehicle's out of warranty, it's not a matter of if, it's when your car will break down.
Unless you call CarShield, America's most trusted auto protection company.
Plans cover up to 5,000 parts and systems and provide protection anywhere in the country with a mechanic or dealership you choose, all for just one low monthly payment.
And with the CarShield guarantee, your rate never goes up and your coverage never goes down, no matter how many claims you have.
That's money in your wallet.
Don't pay full price for an expensive repair bill when you could be covered.
For CarShield administrators to save us over $1,000, that's money that I could take and plan my next vacation.
CarShield helped me save over $3,600.
Plans through CarShield can protect most major parts and systems in your car, including the engine, transmission, entertainment system, computers, electronics, and more. For dollars a day, your plan could save you thousands the next time your car needs a repair.
The stressful situation that we thought we were going to have was not there. CarShield administrators took care of everything for us.
If our car breaks down, CarShield administrators have our back.
CarShield's coast-to-coast protection also includes 24/7 emergency roadside services. That means help with lockouts, flat or damaged tires, even towing. When you've got a plan through CarShield, you're only one call away from their best coverage yet.
Having a plan through CarShield means dealing with a live administrator who'll get you the help you need with your car.
Including getting that repair bill paid.
Save money and save the hassle.
Call CarShield now, before a breakdown.
Call CarShield and get the CarShield guarantee, where your rate never goes up and your coverage never goes down, no matter how many claims you have. But you've got to call CarShield now before your car breaks down. Call 800-587-5179. 800-587-5179.
Terry, the president has declined all last-minute reprieves, so they will be executed by firing squad.
Megan, Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
We're in the nation's capital asking the important questions so that you're in the know. Join us daily, Monday through Friday, on the Capitol Report on NTD News.
Thank you for staying with us. A Trump co-defendant is suing Fulton County. He says the county is helping District Attorney Fani Willis withhold information about her alleged affair with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. We turn now to NTD's Arlene Richards for more on the filing. Arlene, which defendant is requesting records, and do these co-defendants have the right to request county records?
So this is a continuation of a previous filing by Mark Roman's attorney, who's alleging that Fani Willis is having an affair with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. And along with that, she is politically motivated to file this case. So they say this is a conflict of interest. The attorney argues that she has a right to request public records under Georgia's Open Records Act, and that this allows citizens to see how the government is using their tax dollars.
So Arlene, give us some more details on the types of records they're requesting.
Well, according to the complaint, Fani Willis's office has prevented them from getting reports the DA received from media companies she allegedly hired with taxpayer funds to track the public's reactions to statements she's made. So these are statements she's made about the Trump indictment. She checked to see how they would react to that before she actually filed the indictment. They also are requesting invoices and contracts that would show the expenses paid for the RICO case. So expenses paid to date to work on the RICO case. Now this is related to the allegation that Willis is having an inappropriate relationship with Nathan Wade, who she appointed. And according to Mr. Roman, Wade received around $700,000 in legal fees, which comes from county funding. And Ms. Willis allegedly benefited because Mr. Wade was taking her on lavish vacations.
Now, this attorney is arguing that there is a conflict of interest because of the inappropriate relationship. But how does that impact their ability to prosecute the law and the facts in the RICO case?
Well, according to some legal expert, it has no impact at all on their work in the RICO case, although it does tarnish their reputations. The experts say that in order to have a conflict, Ms. Willis must have some personal stake in the RICO case itself. Now, on the other hand, there is the argument that she is gaining politically from this case because they are alleging that, as I said earlier, that she waited to announce the indictment until after she hired this media company. So the conflict there is that she may have filed the case for her own political gain, and that therefore that is a personal stake in the case.
All right, Arlene Richards, thank you so much for that report.
Thank you.
Mr. Roman's attorney has also subpoenaed Fani Willis to give testimony about the alleged affair. That testimony is scheduled for February 15th. The judge presiding over the RICO case has given Willis until Friday, February 2nd, to respond to the motion to dismiss. Leaving class to use the bathroom, or perhaps just to clear your head. That's something a lot of students have done over the years, but a middle school in North Carolina says it got so bad, kids were leaving class 9 times a day to make videos for social media in the bathroom mirrors. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the school's unique solution and the take of Dr. Chris Cortman, known as the TikTok shrink.
Feeling overwhelmed by the extreme bathroom overusage, one North Carolina middle school decided to fight back by removing the bathroom mirrors. School Public Information Officer Les Atkins spoke with local TV station WFMY.
Students were going to the bathroom for long periods of time and making TikTok videos.
The school says there has been a big drop in bathroom breaks since they removed the mirrors. And they now use a digital hall pass system, which helps keep better track of where students are throughout the day. The school says it chose this solution rather than take kids' phones away because some parents wanted their kids to have phone access for safety reasons. Dr. Chris Cortman says a big danger from apps like TikTok is that they severely damage attention span, which causes users to want instant gratification without putting any work in.
In fact, we have plenty of research on the importance of self-discipline and how self-esteem is not what we should be teaching kids. We should be teaching them self-discipline because that's how they get to self-esteem, is by learning how to discipline. And that means they have to delay gratification. They have to work hard towards something. You got to show it up at the gym like every day for years before you go, hey, check this out. You know, the things that they want in life are going to come because they have the capacity to continue to invest in their goals, to day by day do the right thing.
Cortman says he has no issue with how the school solved the problem, and he likened parenting to spotting someone in the weight room.
The job of the spotter is to give you exactly as much help as you need. Not more help and not less help.
The TikTok shrink also thinks kids will lead more satisfying lives if they can get away from the shallow focus of being beautiful on social media.
There's so many other things that are important in life besides being sexually attractive. You know, and they're neglecting a lot of those things that really matter in the long term. I'm not saying that there's no point or no purpose for being attractive, but if that's the focus, if that's the only thing that matters, if you build your world around that, you're not a well-balanced person. And the irony of it is you'll have people attracted to you until they get to know you and see how incredibly shallow and that your world is built around your looks.
TikTok is banned for federal and state employees in about 2/3 of U.S. states. And a law in Florida from last year stopped TikTok from being used on school devices and Wi-Fi networks. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
We turn now to the conflicts in the Middle East.
The Houthi terrorists are continuing to attack ships in the Red Sea, and U.S. forces are responding.
A U.S. destroyer shot down a Houthi ballistic missile and 3 drones Wednesday night. The U.S. also carried out airstrikes against a Houthi drone ground control station in Yemen earlier this morning. The strikes destroyed 10 more Houthi drones.
Iran backs the Houthis and Hamas, as well as other proxy groups in the region.
At the same time, Politico reports that President Biden is planning to issue an executive order later today. The order is expected to target Israeli settlers in the West Bank and criticize them for undermining stability in the area.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that efforts are underway to bring about the release of hostages, but he wouldn't pay any price for a deal.
I have red lines among them, and we will not finish the war. We will not remove IDF from the Strip, and we will not free thousands of terrorists. We are working at all times to free our captives and to achieve the war's other goals, destroying Hamas and a promise that Gaza will not pose a threat again to Israel. We are working on all three together, and we will not concede on any of them.
More fallout from the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea. A ship carrying around 14,000 sheep and 2,000 cattle docked in Australia today. The animals are stuck on board as the government decides whether to let them get off or send them back to sea. The animals have been on the vessel since January 5th. The situation highlights the widening impact of strikes by Houthi terrorists that have disrupted global trade.
The ship was diverted from its route from Australia to Israel due to the threat of attack. It was ordered home by the Australian government.
The ship has sat off Australia's west coast since Monday in sweltering summer heat. Animal welfare advocates are calling the plight of the sheep and cattle torture.
But the Western Australian Minister for Agriculture says the animals on the ship are in good health.
I want this matter resolved as quickly as possible. I want to make it clear all of the animals are in good health. Any decisions about taking animals off the ship will be about stocking density, and my understanding is that the Commonwealth and the exporter are working through that.
And while the world waits to see how Biden will respond to the recent attack in Jordan that killed 3 U.S. service members and wounded dozens more, we know the administration says it'll be at a time and place of their choosing. We'll look at some logical options and the potential consequences. Joined now by Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, a retired U.S. Navy officer of Naval Intelligence. Welcome, Lieutenant. Welcome. First up, how likely is it that the U.S. would strike Iranian soil directly?
Well, with this administration, probably unlikely, which will be disastrous. Look, these are echoes of Vietnam back in the 60s and 70s. A slow but sure escalation of a long and costly war for the United States of America. Why? Because the administration then and the administration now are weak. They don't have the will to go and to do what must be done, and that is to take out the infrastructure, command and control centers, and government of Iran.
And so, knowing that a lot of these groups that are attacking U.S. targets in the Middle East are backed by Iran, what kind of response could we expect if only those groups are targeted?
Well, I believe that if we just continue to target those groups, there'll be other groups, and perhaps some of them are here already as a result of this open border problem we're facing. Those are the groups we have to be concerned about. Look, what we see, right? And those are targets that we certainly can destroy. It's what we don't see and don't know that is going to be the real problem. We don't know where those targets are, but my guess is they're here and they're ready to move as soon as we strike.
What can we effectively do to address this issue that you've just brought up?
Well, I've said all along that we're going to have to make shock and awe in Iraq look like a fireworks display compared to what we can do to the Iranian regime. We got to be tough. We got to be strong. Ronald Reagan said it a long time ago, peace through strength. This administration has shown nothing but weakness. We got to be strong. We got to be tough. Look, we've got the best and strongest and most effective military on the face of the earth. We need to use it and send a message not only to Iran, but to President Xi and any enemy who rises up against the United States. Don't play games with America. You'll pay a price.
But he's also pointed to unnamed targets potentially already within our borders. How can we effectively address that issue?
Well, we have to make sure that our intelligence and information networks are modernized, up and running. People have been told across this country, if you see something, say something. But there has to be a lot of communication, not only here in America, but worldwide. I believe we have that. I believe we haven't been attacked since 9/11, at least to that magnitude, because we do have the capabilities to prevent attacks from coming. But if we do have a lot of human assets here, meaning human assets of the enemy, no telling where they are, where they're going, and what they're going to do. We have to be very vigilant as a nation.
And we need to really keep in mind, and the Biden administration is clearly keeping in mind and says they don't want to escalate any tensions and into a war with Iran. But what would work in terms of not triggering a war with Iran, but fully reining this in?
To me, that statement by Biden and his administration is a joke. For goodness sakes, the war is widening. American troops are now involved in this war, being killed. The fact of the matter is, I'll go back to what I said earlier, and I believe many in the intelligence community and military and some in politics agree with the fact that we've got to hit Iran hard. We've got to let them know, look, that's the only language these people understand is strength. When they see weakness, they go after it. When they see strength, they run from it.
So you're recommending hitting Iranian soil, are you? Just to clarify.
Absolutely, without a doubt. Hit their infrastructure, their military command and control centers. Hey, look, put them out of business. That's all we need to do.
But there is quite a risk here, because there is a risk that Iran already has nuclear grade weapons. And that must be coming into play in leadership decisions here.
Yeah, my thought is they're going to use them. At some point in time, they're going to use them. I think Israel is right when they say they need to take those nuclear facilities out. We, the United States government under Obama and Biden, has financed that by giving them tons and tons and tons of money. We need to take those nuclear facilities out. And by the way, the one missing ingredient here, which no one seems to be talking about, is Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, the other Arab states. Believe me, they want to get rid of Iran too. They know Iran is a problem for everyone. So I see if we decide to take action, we're going to have a lot of people behind us and with us.
All right, thank you so much, Lieutenant Stephen Rogers, retired U.S. Navy officer of Naval Intelligence. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, thank you.
Coming up, farmer protests sweeping Europe. Demonstrators now starting to set things on fire in front of the EU Parliament. Police respond with high-pressure water hoses. We'll return with that and more after this break.
And massive travel disruptions at German airports. Find out why airport security workers are going on strike and how passengers are reacting. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sebastian, and it is a beautiful day today. We have so much to be grateful for, so just remember, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. I just love inspiring people to be the best they can be, and the reason I'm able to inspire so many people is because people like you who inspire me with your support of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Since I was little, I've broken 100 bones, and I've had 19 surgeries. Shriners Hospitals for Children was with me every step of the way. But more than that, they've given me the confidence to know I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like right now, I've set my mind to sharing my smile with you. Did you get it?
Because of people like you, I can play the violin.
I can play piano.
I can Irish dance.
The help I get is only possible because of caring people like you who pick up the phone and call the number on your screen to make your monthly gift.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Kids like me.
And me.
And me.
And me. So what are you waiting for? You can inspire kids like me by visiting loveshriners.org. After all, you can't help everyone, but you can help someone. So let's go!
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving. Join me and bring a smile to the world with your monthly gift today.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Join me and bring a smile to the world.
I'm Richard Karn, and I love my hose. It ain't those old hoses. This is my hose. The new Pocket Hose Copper Bullet, now infused with real copper, so your water is always clean and lead-free. Just turn on the water and watch your hose grow and grow. And when you turn off the water, away it goes. Our new inner tube uses 3 layers of high-strength latex on the inside. Then it's wrapped in a new polymer filament jacket, 3 times stronger than the other hoses. And I love the oversized, easy-to-grip fittings. Get the super light 25-foot pocket hose copper bullet today for only $29.99. But wait, call now and get our Turbo Shot adjustable nozzle, absolutely free. This is an exclusive advanced release of our 2024 edition pocket hose. Order now.
Call 1-800-617-2364 or visit copperbullethose.com. So call 1-800-617-2364 now.
For the day's top headlines and the news you need to know, tune in right here to NTD Evening News.
The European Union today reading a deal on more support for Ukraine. The leaders of the 27 member countries agreed on an aid package worth over $50 billion. This comes despite threats from Hungary to veto the move.
This is good news. Ukraine is our priority, and that is why we needed this agreement today by all 27 member states and from within the EU budget.
That Hungary lifted its veto came as a surprise. Relations between the two countries have been tense. Hungary has long criticized Ukraine for allegedly curbing the rights of ethnic Hungarians.
The financial package was part of a review of the EU's continuing 7-year budget, which requires unanimous approval. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky today thanked the EU for the funding. He says this is a clear signal that Ukraine and Europe will withstand Russia's invasion.
And while European lawmakers pass bills inside the parliament in Brussels, farmers are protesting outside. Tensions are rising today as both protesters and police are starting to use more aggressive tactics. Angry farmers set tires, cardboard boxes, and hay on fire in front of the European Parliament in Brussels today. They also tried to tear down barriers in front of the building. Police started pushing them back using water hoses.
Thousands of farmers and tractors from across Europe are in the Belgian capital. They're protesting environmental standards and other regulations imposed by the EU. They say they're being undercut by foreign imports, which do not have to follow the same rules.
Farmers from as far away as Italy and Spain are joining the protests in Brussels.
We'd like to safeguard our tradition, our farmers' moods, our quality of food, but to safeguard the majority part of this kind of situation, the dignified incomes.
And thousands of miles away, Greek farmers are also protesting. They drove their tractors into the heart of the country's second largest city.
Farmers there started parking their tractors on highways last week. They're threatening to block the country's main roads and cut off the transportation of goods.
They too demand better living conditions. This comes after months of farmers' protests across Europe. The movement first started in the Netherlands in 2019 and gained international attention.
A French goat farmer is urging consumers to buy local as he joins protests that are blocking highways near Paris. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on his story.
In Tancreux, a small town between Paris and Reims, Bertrand Moret takes care of his 200 goats. He took back the family farm in 2016 with his cousins, but like many other farmers, he struggles to make ends meet.
The root of the issue is to be able to make a decent living from your profession and therefore being able to sell your products at the right price, which pays the producers and which allows them to live. When there is no longer this economic threat hanging above all the farmers, we can accept the norms more easily.
The EU's 2023 Nature Restoration Law requires countries to introduce environmental measures on a fifth of their land and sea by 2030. French farmers say they are facing unfair competition from abroad and that this could hurt their businesses. The government in Paris pledged to lobby on their behalf in Brussels. Farmers are also protesting in other cities across the EU, such as in Spain, Italy, and Greece, as EU leaders hold a summit on Thursday. Moret said he was not expecting much from political leaders, but that he hopes for a reaction from customers, where he says the real power is. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And it's not only adults protesting in France. A group of children rode toy tractors in Strasbourg yesterday in solidarity with the farmers. Farmers in protests throughout France and Europe want environmental rules eased, as you heard earlier, and protection against rising costs and cheap imports.
Children drove both electric and pedal-powered mini tractors while adults escorted the caravan.
They carried signs that read, "Tomorrow I will feed you."
Farmers say they are not paid enough and are choked by taxes and green rules and face unfair competition from abroad.
In Germany, massive disruptions to travel today. Security workers at major airports are going on strike, causing widespread flight cancellations and delays. A union called on workers to strike at 11 airports, including Frankfurt, Berlin, Cologne, Hamburg, Stuttgart, and Dresden.
The Frankfurt airport is the busiest in Germany. The country's second busiest airport in Munich was not affected.
An airport operator group estimated that around 1,100 flights in total would be canceled or delayed. This impacts some 200,000 passengers.
Lufthansa planned to operate much of its planned schedule, including intercontinental flights. The airport workers were trying to set up pressure in a pay dispute.
Every person standing here at the airport today, many of them are employees, and they know how important it is that there are regular pay raises, because otherwise life is just no longer affordable. And that's what it's all about. And that's why I think there's understanding. We got the news yesterday in Singapore that our connecting flight with Lufthansa has been cancelled, which would have gone from Frankfurt to Nuremberg. The Lufthansa chatbot didn't help, so we quickly booked pretty much the last 2 train seats for this morning.
There should be another solution. It can't go on like this. It can't.
3 rounds of labor negotiations have failed to produce a pay agreement. The union is seeking a raise of $3 per hour for all employees. That's 25,000 workers.
They also want bonuses for overtime work to kick in from the first extra hour. The talks are due to resume on February 6th.
Short warning strikes are a common tactic in German contract negotiations. In a separate dispute, the same union has called for strikes Friday on local public transportation systems in much of the country. It's an unusual encounter for Florida. The discovery of a couple of bear cubs who were very far from home. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office says this happened back in December. A deputy was called to the area in the middle of the night after a man spotted 2 bear cubs and could tell they weren't the common Northwest Florida black bears. Turns out they're Kodiak cubs, which are native to Alaska.
They're a subspecies of the brown or grizzly bear, but Kodiaks are larger. Florida Fish and Wildlife stepped in to get the cubs to safety. Officials found that the bears belonged to a self-proclaimed bear trainer, and they escaped from their enclosure.
They say the trainer is facing various wildlife violations.
What is cuteness? That's the question posed by a new exhibition in London. It celebrates the 50th anniversary of Hello Kitty, the popular Japanese cartoon character.
The exhibition, named Cute at Somerset House, brings together all kinds of adorable exhibits.
Items on display include pop culture icons like E.T. and Baby Yoda, and children's toys like Sylvanian Families figures. Some installations are interactive. Even visitors are dressed on theme.
The event organizer says cute culture is big business.
One of the amazing things about Cute is it has this ability to provoke an emotional response, and it can generate affect in all of us. And it isn't necessarily something that we can control. So it proves slippery in that nature, but it's quite powerful. And so Cute can be quite an endearing phenomenon.
The queen of the event is Hello Kitty. The white kitten was initially designed for pre-adolescent girls.
But over the decades, she's become an icon with a broader appeal. According to Statista, the Hello Kitty brand is now worth more than $80 billion.
The Cute exhibition runs through mid-April.
An unexpected adventure in a claw machine filled with Hello Kitty toys turns into a win for a toddler. The incident took place over the weekend in Queensland, Australia. 3-year-old Ethan was trying a new approach to win a toy, but ended up trapped inside the machine.
Police soon came to his rescue. Footage shows Ethan surrounded by Hello Kitty toys as officers figure out how to free him. Eventually, they shattered the glass and safely returned him to his family. The child remained unfazed during the whole process.
When he stood with his parents, one of the officers joked and told Ethan he won a prize and asked him which one he wanted.
And it turns out porch pirates come in all shapes and sizes.
A possum was caught on security video raiding a package at a home in Southlake, Texas. It stole a box containing cookies. The cookie delivery was meant for a teen boy for his birthday. The family found the mangled and empty bag of cookies in the yard the next morning.
When they checked their security camera, they found the culprit. The cookies were from Tiff's Treats Cookie Delivery, which saw the video and offered to replace the treats for free. It's definitely a reminder to be sure to bring in your packages every day. And keep your eye on the moon. It's shrinking. Scientists say our moon's circumference has shrunk by about 150 feet in the last million years. That doesn't sound like much, and it won't affect Earth, but it indicates a geologically active satellite. In fact, the moon still has a hot interior. It's cooling off though, and that causes the surface to shrink, like a grape shriveling into a raisin. It also contributes to moonquakes and landslides on the rock, once thought to be seismically inactive. Those aren't expected to impact the Artemis 3 mission that could send astronauts to the moon as soon as 2026, but they may have to be on the lookout for some shaking that could pop them off their feet on the moon's low-gravity environment. And that's all for today's news.
Thank you for tuning in.
Feel free to reach out to us with news tips or feedback at news.today@ntd.com.
And we'll be back with more stories tomorrow.